What is this? I couldn't help but shout as I peered into my boyfriend's bag. Inside, there were two completed marriage certificates. What on earth is going on? I had stumbled upon something unbelievable, and my trust in my boyfriend started to waver. That night, when I returned home from a weekend trip, I was taken aback. The room was filled with a strong, pungent scent of perfume. And I immediately realized that sister of mine had come over. My name is Aisha, 26 years old. My sister, Felicity, is 1 year younger at 25. I had started living with my sister right after graduating from college, but the truth is, I had kicked her out of the house last year. Officially, the reason was that I was moving in with my boyfriend, but the main reason was my sister's bad habit. Her bad habit was taking and discarding other people's belongings. It had gotten worse over the years, and I finally decided she needed to leave. Taking someone else's things without a second thought is something I believe no sensible person would ever do. But my sister, who had always believed she was adorable since childhood, thought she could get away with anything. She would forcibly take what belonged to me and then discard it shortly after. My weak-willed parents couldn't really scold her too harshly. With no one to firmly discipline her, my sister became even more presumptuous. Still, back in the old days, it was just small items, so it wasn't too bad. Things like cosmetics or stationery could easily be replaced. Even if they were taken from me, I'd think, here we go again. But once my sister crossed the age of 18, she started aiming for the unthinkable. She actually stole not one but two of my boyfriends. Whenever I brought a boyfriend home, my sister would quickly exchange contact information with them and say, "I'll take your boyfriend, big sis," and just like that, she would steal them away. Men can be really simple creatures. They would fall head over heels for my sister, who was more attractive both physically and mentally than me. Furthermore, since living together, my sister had started taking my money as well. She was a part-timer but had a bad spending habit, and was always running low on cash. On the other hand, I worked as a receptionist at a company and had a decent income. So when my sister ran out of money, she'd sweetly say, "Big sis, can I have some pocket money?" She'd ask me in a sickly sweet voice. When I sternly told her, "Earn your own pocket money," she would sneakily take some money from my wallet when I wasn't looking. Because of my sister's scent, I couldn't stay still. I felt like something had been stolen from the house, so I searched all over. But there were no signs of a disturbance in the living room, and it didn't seem like anything had been taken. So, I headed to the bedroom and started searching the closet and drawers. However, there was nothing in particular that seemed to have been stolen. Is it possible she left without taking anything this time? Then why did she come here in the first place? I pondered these questions while looking at my boyfriend's face as he slept peacefully. He was in a deep sleep, snoring softly, and his bag was next to the pillow. So, almost absent-mindedly, I peered into his bag and... What is this? I couldn't help but shout. What I found was a marriage certificate. In fact, we, who were in a common-law marriage, had plans to officially register soon. So, if there was just a marriage certificate in there, I wouldn't be surprised. However, inside my boyfriend's personal bag, there were two marriage certificates. And what's more, one had my name and my boyfriend's, while the other had my sister's name and my boyfriend's. What on earth is going on? With two marriage certificates in front of me, I was trembling. Am I being kept as backup? Or am I just being played with? Having found something so unbelievable, my trust in my boyfriend continued to erode. After that happened, I invited my sister over to the house a few times for meals. I deliberately lured her in to confirm her relationship with my boyfriend. What I did was secretly record their conversations when I wasn't around. So, when I went to the restroom or something, I left a small voice recorder behind. Sure enough, they fell right into my trap. "Hey, Lionel, I want to be alone with you more." "Yeah, that sounds good. Should we make up a business trip for Aisha and go on a trip together?" "That's right, let's leave big sis behind and go on a trip." Unaware of anything, they had a conversation that clearly indicated they were cheating as soon as I left my seat. Betrayed by the person I believed in, my heart felt constricted. I would never, ever cheat. I can't understand people who do. My boyfriend had been emphatic about this since we started dating. To think that my boyfriend, who had emphasized his purity and integrity, would cheat with my sister. On Sunday, I lied about working on a day off and decided to follow my boyfriend. As expected, my boyfriend had arranged to meet my sister and they headed to a hotel. I successfully captured their actions from the shadows of a pillar. Unaware that I was watching, they happily held hands and disappeared into the hotel. With concrete evidence of the affair in hand, I took action. I went to both sets of parents with this evidence and the marriage certificates. I've been cheated on by Lionel, and the other woman was my sister, Felicity. What? My parents, informed of the truth by me, were surprised and appalled. Lionel, my boyfriend, had a good demeanor and was respectful towards my parents. So, for such a good young man to cheat, and with my sister of all people, it was even more shocking, I think. My boyfriend's parents sympathized with me as well. His father seemed to have noticed his son's wayward behavior and had cautioned him several times, saying, "You're not married yet, so don't play around." His mother, on the other hand, didn't seem to know about her son's wandering tendencies, but being a former teacher, she likely had an education-focused mindset. Once she learned her son had been cheating, she was furious, exclaiming, "That foolish son needs to be thoroughly disciplined." After that, both sets of parents collaborated. They planned to help both of them get their act together. And then, they proposed something to me that I had never thought of before, a surprising plan. "Why don't we all have dinner together at our place again? Lionel usually comes home around 7 p.m., so we want Felicity to come over around that time too." After revealing my boyfriend's affair to both sets of parents, I invited my sister to another dinner. "Sure thing. I'm looking forward to it," my sister responded nonchalantly. And as planned, my boyfriend came home at 7 p.m. on Sunday, but surprisingly, my sister was with him. "Oh, we just happened to run into each other at the front door." As my boyfriend entered the room with excuses, my stomach churned. But after this, the two of them would be in for a shock. In fact, I had prepared a surprise for them. I had turned off all the lights in the house, leaving it completely dark. So, when my boyfriend said, "What's going on? Why aren't the lights on?" He turned on the light switch, and then, "What's going on?" As the room brightened up, my boyfriend was taken aback. There, present were my parents, my boyfriend's parents, and myself, all with serious expressions, seated around the table. On the table, there was a cake with a chocolate plate that read, "Congratulations on your marriage." "Hey, wait a minute, what's going on? And why is everyone gathered here?" My boyfriend's face turned pale. As for my sister, she seemed to be in a slight panic, her mouth opening and closing, unable to utter a word. Then, in silence, each father gestured for my boyfriend and sister to take their seats. My boyfriend sat there, bewildered, on his knees, and my sister slumped into her seat. At this sight, my mother muttered, "Your big sister's anger is quite something, huh?" Yes, I had turned into a complete demon. While I naturally had a calm personality, my patience had run thin with my sister's repeated foolish actions. "Both of you, brace yourselves." Upon hearing my mother's words, my boyfriend and sister looked at me with trepidation. Then, I declared, "Congratulations. Starting today, you two are officially married," and gave an ironic applause. In front of the dumbfounded couple, I dramatically tore a piece of paper in two. It was the marriage certificate for my boyfriend and I. "Hey, what the hell are you doing? There now, what's with the surprise? You don't want two marriage certificates, right? As you wish, you can just marry my sister." No, it's not like we've decided to get married." It's too late for that. Your marriage certificates have already been submitted to the city hall." "What?" My boyfriend's face turned pale. Then, his father spoke sternly, "You chose Felicity over Aisha. This time, you won't get away with simply playing around. Get married and take responsibility properly. Then, cut us some slack. We never intended to get married." My boyfriend shouted in confusion. My parents and I were left speechless by this statement. It seemed that my boyfriend and sister had just been casually dating. With an exasperated tone, I said to my boyfriend, "Then why did you prepare a marriage certificate with my sister?" "That was just for fun. I'm only going to marry Aisha. It's true, believe me." My boyfriend pleaded with desperation. Then, he glanced at my sister and continued, "At least not in my heart, even if physically." Trying to make an excuse. I was dumbfounded by what he was saying right in front of my sister. Naturally, my sister exploded in anger. "What's that supposed to mean?" She glared at my boyfriend and attempted to grab him. "So you were only interested in my body? Even though you said you loved me and that I was your number one, you liar." Hurt by her pride, my sister screamed hysterically. "Shut up. There's no way I'd seriously be into a woman with an empty head like you." Faced with her accusations, my boyfriend retorted with anger. Their exchange was beyond comprehension, and I was utterly exasperated. "Sorry, but can you save this lovers' quarrel for later?" I said to the arguing pair. Then, I pulled out a few photos and showed them. "Huh." Seeing the photos, my boyfriend let out a bewildered cry. Well, his surprise was understandable. The photos showed him at various places, flirting with numerous women, even approaching women on the streets. Wait a minute, Aisha, when did you get hold of these?" My boyfriend was flustered, but the truth was, it was his parents who had prepared these photos for me. What my boyfriend's parents proposed to me was to hire a detective to investigate my boyfriend's behavior. They assured me that they would cover the detective's expenses, and they actually contacted a detective agency to capture evidence of his infidelity. It seemed that my boyfriend had a history of womanizing, which worried his parents. However, they had hoped that his relationship with me would bring about a change in him. Unfortunately, he disappointed their expectations by engaging in an unbelievable act of infidelity with my sister. So, my boyfriend's parents decided to conduct an investigation into their own son's behavior. The results revealed not only his affair with my sister, but also his involvement with other women, far beyond what they had imagined. This must have been a significant disappointment for them. But it wasn't just my boyfriend who was confronted by my parents. My father glared at my sister and said, "You must have stolen our savings, right? Don't think you've gotten away with it. Even though we're family, silently taking someone else's savings is a crime. Well, it's a small amount, so we won't take legal action, but it has hurt us emotionally." My father said this with a sigh. Apparently, my sister had been eyeing not only me but my parents' money as well. I was shocked by my sister's sticky fingers. However, my sister didn't seem to feel remorse at all. "What's the big deal? Calling it stealing sounds so bad. I just thought of it as borrowing," she retorted, glaring back at my father. But this time, my father wouldn't forgive my sister. "I see. Well, in that case, I'm cutting ties with you," he declared estrangement on the spot. "Come on, Dad, cut it out. Cutting ties is a bit too dramatic, don't you think?" My sister forced a smile, but my father's determination remained firm. "With this affair and the theft of our savings, there are more than enough reasons to cut ties," my father said sternly. At this point, even my sister realized that there was no way she could rely on my father anymore. "Mom, can't you talk to Dad somehow? I'm your real daughter, you know? Cutting ties is too harsh, isn't it?" Now she turned to my mother for help. However, my mother remained silent, shaking her head. My sister, who had been doing as she pleased for so long, had been completely abandoned by my parents. In the midst of all this, my boyfriend's father muttered, "I've tried to advise my son to mend his ways. It seems to have been in vain." "Absolutely, we've raised them wrong," my father added, nodding in agreement. I may have been the primary victim in all of this, but I'm sure the fathers were equally disappointed. Finally, my boyfriend's father addressed the two of them, saying, "Listen carefully. Reflect on your actions and mend your ways. We won't assist you, and we won't tolerate it any longer. No, seriously, cut us some slack. I'm going to marry Aisha." My boyfriend hastily stood up, but in the end, he was dragged out of the room by his father. Separated from my boyfriend, my sister could only cry and scream. With no other option, we decided to send my sister back to our parents' home. After everyone had left, I sighed and thought, phew. Then, I went to the kitchen, prepared paper plates and forks, and ate the cake by myself. Afterwards, I demanded compensation from my sister and my ex-boyfriend. It seems they got married and started living together in a rundown apartment, but life was apparently quite tough for them. Up until then, my sister had been working part-time jobs sporadically, but she was now compelled to work every day so that she could pay the compensation. Additionally, my ex-boyfriend seemed to have developed a bad reputation from somewhere, as he received the cold shoulder from his colleagues. His workplace was uncomfortable, and more than anything, he no longer had the freedom to enjoy life. It appeared that he was thoroughly worn out. Fed up with this way of life, the two of them considered divorce, but even if they divorced, they had nowhere to go. Since they had cut ties with both families when they started living together, they couldn't rely on their parents. So, my ex-boyfriend and my sister reluctantly continued their married life. However, both sets of parents became friends through this series of events and still maintain contact today. Whether it's the fathers or the mothers, they seem to get along well, going out for drinks and even traveling together, appearing to have a lot of fun every day. On the other hand, I am still energetically working as a receptionist today. While I think it's okay not to rush into love for a while, deep down, I still want to date if I meet someone special because I'm still young. Therefore, to avoid falling for a man like my ex-boyfriend ever again, I plan to observe people every day and sharpen my sense of aesthetics.